Hi, Mark. Welcome. Nice to
Good
meet
morning. That was like a virtual walk down the corridor, wasn't it? I've never done one of those before.
It's great. Don't you just love the music? I'm a real fan of music. So powerful, isn't it? But great to have you here. So
Lovely
I
to be
think what
here.
it would
Thank
be
you.
great to start with is actually to sort of like a 90-second intro into what you do and sort of how you arrived at where you are would be really helpful.
Okay. Yep, no problem. Thank you for asking. I come to where I am now from a slightly different angle from most people. So most people who work in the sort of mental health arena, therapy, they kind of come from a psychotherapy background. I came from a background where I was helping people with aggression and violence and meeting a lot of people who were traumatized. And somebody said to me one day, "You ought to get into Havening." I'm like, "I've been to Havering. What on earth is Havening?" And it's about putting people in a safe haven. So I used to scare people. I do this sort of thing. What you looking at?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And all the time you'd be coached through that. Now I couldn't do that during lockdown because I would traumatize people. So and that's not what I'm about. So I've been doing Havening since 2014. I was a very early adopter, and now that's the primary focus of what I do. I still do the scary stuff if people ask me to. But I'm very busy now, I'm pleased to say, helping people with getting rid of trauma in all sorts of different ways. And it could be
Right.
very minor stuff, or it could be complex PTSD. And I actually train practitioners now as well to be able to do the same things. So that's kind of me now.
Gosh,
Is havening, is that a technique, or is that, the word havening? Where does that?
Well, it was originated by somebody called Dr. Ron Rudin in New York, and he came up with the word havening, as in the transitive part of to haven, or put people in a safe haven. So that's where it comes from. So that people feel secure, they can get away from whatever worries, stresses, horrible stuff they've had to deal with in the past permanently. So it's a permanent solution. It's based on neuroscience, and Ron will talk about electrocuticals and electrochemicals, and that we're electrochemical beings. And if you've heard of plasticity in the brain, this is plasticity in the brain in action.
wow. I've got to say this is new to me, and because I'm really fascinated.
New to most people, don't worry.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? And it's fantastic to know this is out there. So how long have you actually been physically doing the bit you're doing now?
Well, I've been a practitioner since 2014.
Right. Yeah.
I've been training people for just over a year now. So I've been doing lots of courses, lots of demonstrations, lots of intro sessions, and I still do those
Yeah.
for about a year now, and absolutely loving it because it's just lovely to be able to help people out of a difficult place. I'll give you one example just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
A lady who was our very first demo volunteer, the very first training I did about this time last year, and she had what she described as a cloud of sadness over her for the last 15 years. And it was all to do with a very shock incident where, unfortunately, her husband passed away unexpectedly. And it was traumatic for her. I won't go into the circumstances, but it was really quite horrible. And we did a session. I did a live demo, and it took about 40 minutes where we reduced down from a very high level of distress to, I think it was about 3 or a 4 out of 10.
Wow.
And I promised her that I'd sort it out and completely get rid of it. So I did that the following week. I interviewed her, say, how do you feel now? And what's it all about? And we reduced it down completely. And then if you look on YouTube, you'll see an interview with this lady called Steph telling you all about how her experience was. So it's just lovely to do that. And
Absolutely.
so I just love my job.
Oh, wow. Well, I can totally understand that. Gosh, that's amazing, isn't it? So I guess she's one of many examples of the people that you help, definitely.
Yes. Yeah, and it ranges, there's no age limit really to how you can use Havening. So I know colleagues in the Havening world who work with babies, even prenatal and postnatal with mums. And I also have worked with some elderly people. And it doesn't really matter what age group. You can help whatever age. I helped a 14-year-old girl not too long ago who wasn't able to do sleepovers. Now you might think, well, that's not that big. For her, that was a really big thing because it meant she couldn't develop some of the relationships with some of her friends. And also she was in a sports team, still is in the sports team, I'm pleased to say, doing really well. where she couldn't go to away matches if they had to stay over.
Mm.
Right.
So it was limiting that career. I've worked with a 14-year-old lad who was a very talented young player now in the Premier League academy, and but he ran away when he heard the groundsman using a lawnmower. Not very good for his footballing career. So got rid of that within about 40 minutes. So
Well, and are these sort of how does it, is it over weeks? Is it a single session? Do you sit in a chair? Is it like hypnotherapy? How is it all?
It's a good question, and I'm going to give you a politician's answer, maybe, but it depends.
Right.
And it really does, because if you've had a one-off incident, we use something called event havening. So go back to that one event, and that can be cleared very quickly. So again, I'll give you an example. Lady came to me about 3 years ago. She'd had, unfortunately, a sexual assault 38 years previously. And she didn't like going out at night, as you can imagine. And she was very fearful about something like that happening again. And I spent 15 minutes explaining what I was going to do. And then I did some havening for about 15 minutes. But I went back to the one event, and it was only one event. And we cleared it in 15 minutes. So that's, not everything's going to be like that, frankly. But if you're working with complex PTSD, we often talk about in havening, you imagine an onion, and you've got all those different layers within an onion. So you peel one layer back. Oh, we've got something else here. Peel that one back. Oh, we've got something else. If you know the root of it, it can make it a lot quicker. But often people don't know, because it might have been in very early childhood. Maybe the brain's even blocked things out. So we don't want to remember. We don't want to understand consciously why something has been a problem. So I'm just trying to think. The longest I've ever worked with somebody is, I think, 5 sessions to date, which is remarkable in therapeutic terms, because there are people that go to therapy for years, using other methods. And with havening, it just makes it quicker. People don't have to talk about it, which allows people to access therapy. So you don't have to tell me anything at all, frankly, about what the issue is. It helps, and it might make it quicker if you do, but you don't have to. So somebody who is ashamed of what they've done, or they're embarrassed to talk about what was done to them, or they just can't even formulate the words to talk about it, this is a wonderful way of accessing it. And it can be done on Zoom. I'm going to show you, if you'll allow me to have a little go, do a bit of self-havening, because you can haven away minor worries and anxieties as well, straight away. And anybody who's watching this, I encourage you to haven away with me, and just feel it for yourselves.
Wow.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Okay. Well, all I want everybody to do is, please don't go to any deep-seated trauma, because this isn't the environment to do that. That's the first thing. But just think of a minor worry or anxiety. So let's say you're running a bit late. You've got a presentation to do you're not very confident about, or you've got a big meeting coming up, or you're worried about cash flow, or something that is genuinely a worry, but it's not, life-threatening. It's not a major traumatic thing for you. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just to bring that to mind, and I'm looking at my clock now, because I'm going to give you half a minute to do that. I'd like you to really, what I call it, marinade in that feeling. So it's a little bit uncomfortable for about half a minute. And I'm just going to be quiet, so I'm just going to leave you to do that. If you want to shut your eyes and do that, that's fine, but I'll give you half a minute from now. So just think about whatever it is that bothers you. Maybe where you were when something happened. Feel the feeling that it evokes, and just connect with that feeling. You might even have a connection somewhere in your body, maybe in your throat or your chest or your stomach. And all I want you to do from here is, on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is really difficult to even think about, 0, it means nothing to you. Where are you on that scale? So just pick a number between 0 and 10, and just remember it for me, or write it down if you feel more comfortable writing it down, and we'll come back to that at the end. So I'll just let you write the number or think about the number. And now all I want you to think about is what are you having for tea tonight? What's on the menu? You don't have to tell me, by the way. Just think about it. Think about what it looks like.
Yeah.
And whilst you're doing that, if you put one hand on one shoulder, like that, one hand on the other shoulder, just gently, about that speed, down to the elbows, lift up to the top and back again. Now, if for some reason you've got an achy arm or you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can do that instead. Just gently stroke your cheeks or even under your eyes or your forehead, or you can just massage your palms. And it's important it's the palms, not the backs of the hands, but actually the palms. So I'm going to carry on with just doing this. And I want you to take yourself off to somewhere really lovely. So where is your favourite place in the world? Again, you don't have to tell me what it is. Just take yourself off in your mind's eye and imagine that you're there now. And you are walking around in that beautiful place where you feel peaceful, safe and calm. And you are absolutely having a wonderful time. The sun is out. If you like, well, I'm not going to throw things in. Let you imagine it. So imagine all the lovely things that could be there with you and how you're feeling as each step that you take, you're feeling a little bit lighter, a little bit more comfortable, and just relaxing and feeling just to lose a little bit of that burden, a little bit of that tension. And you're feeling a little bit more dynamic, maybe even a little bit excited, and just more relaxed and finding this touch soothing. And the walk, as you walk around and you take everything in around you, it just fills your senses in a really positive way. And you're feeling really calm and peaceful and safe and comfortable. Now, I hate to drag you away from that lovely environment, but I'm now going to ask you, and I'd like Elaine and Andrew to join in with me now, please. And anybody that's watching, shout out. I won't be able to hear you, I'm afraid, but shout out whatever it is that you come up with. I'm going to ask you, Elaine, I'll start with you if you would.
Yeah.
We're going to start with the letter A. And I want you to tell me any country or city, for that matter, anywhere in the world beginning with A.
America.
Okay. And Andrew, B?
Africa.
Brilliant. And, well, that
B.
That's fine. We'll go for a B, Elaine, please.
Brazil.
Brazil, lovely. Andrew, something beginning with B?
Barbados.
Barbados, lovely. Elaine, C?
Canada.
Canada. Andrew, D?
Denmark.
Denmark. Elaine, E?
Egypt.
Lovely. Andrew, are you getting the hang of this? It's just following the letters. So, F, Andrew?
Finland.
Finland, lovely. Elaine?
Germany.
Lovely. Andrew?
Holland.
Excellent. And Elaine?
India.
Lovely. Andrew?
Jamaica.
Lovely. All right. So we're going to change things around a little bit now because you got used to doing that. I'm going to get you thinking about how good are you with sums and multiplication?
All right, I think.
Okay. All right. We're going to find out. So, Elaine, could you tell me, please, what is 6 times 7?
42.
Well done. Andrew, 3 times 9?
27.
Spot on. Elaine, 2 times 4?
8.
And Andrew, 5 times 6?
30.
Excellent. And Elaine, 9 times 4?
36.
Excellent. Andrew, 7 times 9?
63.
Excellent. All right. So I'm going to just have a little pause there. And I'd like you to think back to whatever it was that you thought of earlier. So bring to mind and try and bring that number to mind. So remember the score was 10 is really horrendous. 0, it means nothing to you. And I have no idea what you're working on. I don't need to know. That's the beauty about Havening. But can you tell me what your start scores were and your finish scores, please? See if there's any change. Elaine, what was your start score and finish score?
It was a 7.
Yeah.
I'd probably say it's about a 2 now, I'd say.
Fantastic. And Andrew?
I wrote down 7.
Yeah.
And I wrote down 2.
We call that tap, I guess, don't we?
I know. We're both Geminis, you know. It's clearly some synergy here.
Yeah. And that is now permanent. So you've actually facilitated an electrochemical change in your body. I'm not going to go into the science. We don't have time to do the science, but essentially, that thing that Ron describes as a safe haven, you're more into the safe haven than you were. And if we had a bit more time, we'd just get rid of that completely. If I have a bad day, or if I wake up and think, I'm worried about this Cobra Club. I've got this podcast, this LinkedIn thing. Then I can just go into the shower in the morning, and I'm not follically challenged like, I am follically challenged like some. So I can do this any time of the day, but I normally do it in the shower in the morning and just get rid of any minor worries and anxieties. And the serious thing here is that you can work on so many things that are much more serious than this. And I could take you through a whole range of different, from assaults to accidents, industrial accidents through to car accidents, seeing people take their own life, horrendous for the individual concerned and their family and friends, but also for people who view it and see that sort of thing. And you can just take it away. It sounds too good to be true. And
I'm all in. It's me, Mark. Honestly, thank you for doing that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to come along and try that out, by the way, another time, I do a regular thing, an hour's intro to Havening. And if anybody wants to talk to me about becoming a practitioner, then please do get in contact, because it's just a lovely thing to do.
Yes. Brilliant. Well, we'll come back to your contact details in a little bit, but I think first of all, Elaine, I think it's time for top tips. So what's the question? What is the top tips from the expert, Mark Wingfield, today?
Yeah, what are they, Mark? You've got the opportunity, sort of a couple of minutes, to give your 3 top tips.
But before you do, I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about it. You're going to get 9 seconds to think about your 3 top tips.
All right.
For people with PTSD, stress, anxiety, etc., etc. So here we go.
Well, I think my first top tip is contact me for a self-havening guide. So I have an 8-step guide that will take you through basically what we've just done. And you can use this for any minor worry and anxiety. A second top tip is, why not think about bringing this into business? Think about absenteeism and presenteeism, which could be for all sorts of different reasons. It could be because somebody's got something going on in their private life, maybe a terrible bereavement issue or an accident, or worrying about somebody with COVID. It could be anything like that. But that comes into work as well. It affects how you function. If it's occupying a large part of your brain at the time, you're not going to be doing as well as you could at work. So think about bringing it into work. I do talks and all sorts of different things at work. Zoom, doesn't have to be in person. And if you're a coach, why not become a practitioner? If you're a leader, why not get into Havening? Because you can actually help people just coach away mental barriers. I was working with a chap just a couple of weeks ago, and I won't give any details about who it is or what specifically what it was, but from something in his childhood, I can tell you as much as his father constantly told him, "You're not going to be good at anything." That has reverberated throughout his life until about 2 weeks ago. And he's been sending me a couple of text messages, which is lovely, basically saying, "I'm waiting for it to go away, but I just feel so much calmer, and I'm actually doing things that I otherwise wouldn't be doing." So it's filtered throughout his life and into his personal relationship as well, where he had some things to talk about. So, Brilliant. Will that do for 3 top tips?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Brilliant.
So in terms, just quickly, we've only got a couple of minutes left, Mark.
Okay.
So how does consultations work? Do you do a free consultation? Tell us, if I was interested in it, what would I do next?
Anybody in the Cobra Club, I will give a free tryout. So you can come along for a few minutes and we'll do exactly what we've just done, just to show you how it can work. Now, obviously, that can't last too long because this is how I earn my living. But I'm quite prepared to do a little free tryout. Or come along to one of my intros where it's free of charge, and you can come along and just as a group, you can actually learn a little bit more about Havening. But contact me on LinkedIn. Very happy to answer any questions at all. And as I say, I go in and give wellbeing talks. I bring in other practitioners, and we do a wellbeing day where you not only get a live demonstration, perhaps on stage, of somebody, but we'll work individually one-to-one with bookings already made during the day, or even on the hoof, if you like. So, or train to be a practitioner. That's just lovely, and
brilliant.
Very, very satisfying.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, brilliant. So, wish you best of luck, and we'll see you in the club soon. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I shall be definitely in by the end of November, because I've been a bit busy the last couple of weeks, but I've just joined.
Fantastic.
I'm really keen to get in. So
well,
see you on the other side.
Next time. All right.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Wow.
That was good, wasn't it?
That was really, really, really interesting, wasn't it? Really interesting. I'm so glad we got our maths right, aren't you, Andy? No pressure.
That could have gone anywhere. It's like, I've got countries now. Oh, hold on a minute.
I know. But, it's fascinating, though, isn't it, when you speak to people about their business and you think, I didn't even know that existed in that format at all. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, and something easy to sort of, with Mark's guidance and instruction, how to heal yourself, which is great, or your employees. I'm all in. So
me too.
So it's good. And Louise, hi Louise. She finds it fascinating. So Louise currently running the reception at the Cobra Club at the moment. So hi Louise, keep up the good work.
Absolutely.
Yes. So just quickly, because I didn't get around to it before, Elaine, I'm just going to quickly welcome in the new guests, because there's been a bit of a whirlwind this morning.
Yay.
So I'm going to welcome in the new members, and then after